And thank you so much for joining us for CBN News Watch. I'm Efrem Graham. Ahead today, a huge win for Republicans in Virginia as they capture not only the governor's race, but the other top offices as well. And we'll tell you what this could mean for next year's congressional races. A big disagreement between the Biden administration and Israel over a key issue that many worry could lead to dividing the city of Jerusalem once again. Plus, COVID vaccines are coming for children ages 5 to 11, but some parents are saying no.
A new Kaiser Family Foundation poll just released 5 days ago shows that 30% of parents who were polled said they definitely will not be getting their 5 to 11-year-old vaccinated.
Other parents will go ahead with the vaccines. We'll give you the details on the debate. And a reality show with a purpose, helping widows in need.
I went into this thinking I was going to help heal the widow, and instead now we help each other heal forward.
We've got a special look at Rebuild and Restore with the woman who became a widow herself while she was helping others. All those stories and more are ahead next.
This is CBN News Watch.
And we begin in Virginia, where a governor's race widely seen as a referendum on President Biden and a glimpse of what could happen in the 2022 midterms appears to be bad news for Democrats. But Republican Glenn Youngkin is expected to beat Democrat Terry McAuliffe in Virginia's governor's race. It was a stunning victory in a state Joe Biden won handily in 2020, Republicans sweeping all statewide races. That's governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general. Youngkin's win returns the Commonwealth to the GOP after 12 years of Democratic control.
All righty, Virginia, we won this thing!
Youngkin is a political newcomer and businessman. Headed into Election Day, he was tied with former Governor Terry McAuliffe. As the numbers came in, McAuliffe's hopes for a second stint in the governor's mansion started to fade. Addressing his supporters earlier in the night, he refused to concede while some hope remained.
So we still got a lot of votes to count. We got about 18% of the vote out, so we're going to continue to count the votes because every single Virginian deserves to have their vote counted.
The road to Election Day included bitter ideological and cultural battles over issues like education, vaccine mandates, abortion, and the economy. The GOP sweep halts a Democrat trend in Virginia. The last time a Republican won a statewide office was back in 2009. Education was the driving issue for many voters in Virginia, with many objecting to the teaching of critical race theory or CRT in schools. But there were other issues as well, like explicit sexual material in schools for students as young as 9th grade. CBN's Heather Sells addressed those concerns in our election analysis coverage.
CRT has become just a euphemism for people being frustrated with liberal curriculum in the schools. So I think when parents say there's CRT, they might not even know exactly what CRT means, but they know when they're seeing their kids' textbooks and they're seeing their kids' homework and they're hearing their kids talk, they know that there is a more liberal agenda in the schools, more liberal teaching that's taking place. And I think that's what CRT has come to represent for a lot of parents. But a lot of parents also are just rightfully so frustrated with COVID and so frustrated with the delays in going back to school and so concerned about the control of the teachers' unions. So I think that this in many ways has affected not just conservative-leaning parents, but independent-minded parents.
One reason political analysts have so closely watched the Virginia race, it's considered an indicator of how next year's congressional races will go. Pollster Frank Luntz tweeting this weekend, is Virginia a national electoral bellwether? Absolutely, yes. Control of the U.S. House has only changed hands 4 times in the past 50 years, and the party that won the Virginia governor's race the year before won the House majority all 4 times. And the Republicans are doing very well in another governor's race. In a surprise, the incumbent Democrat governor was virtually deadlocked with the Republican challenger as the day.
I wanted to come out here tonight and tell you that we had won.
Well, we're going to have to wait a little while longer.
And you can get the latest updates on CBNnews.com. Turning now to Minneapolis, voters rejected a ballot initiative that would have replaced the police force with the Department of Public Safety. Minneapolis, of course, is where the black man, George Floyd, was murdered by a police officer. I want to turn now to Israel. The Biden administration wants to reopen its consulate for Palestinians in Jerusalem. This move could signal the first step toward Israel's capital city once again. It would also be a major triumph for the Palestinians. So how has Israel responded so far? Chris Mitchell brings us the details.
When the U.S. says it wants to reopen a consulate for Palestinians in Jerusalem, Israeli leaders say, not on our watch. The building behind me served as an American diplomatic mission for more than 100 years. In 2017, the United States recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital, and the following year moved its embassy to the city. In 2019, the Trump administration merged the consulate with the embassy. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says it's time to change that.
The United States will be moving forward with the process to reopen our consulate in Jerusalem. That's an important way for our country to engage with and provide support to the Palestinian people.
The proposed action would reestablish the consulate in Jerusalem, independent of the U.S. Embassy and ambassador to Israel. Professor Eugene Kontorovich says such action would be a big victory for the Palestinians.
It's a sign to the Palestinians that America recognizes Palestinian claims to Jerusalem. Instead of recognizing Israel as Jerusalem's capital, we'll be putting a question mark on that.
Palestinian Authority Prime Minister Mohammed Shtayyeh welcomes the move and that message.
The message from this administration is that Jerusalem isn't one city, and that the American administration does not recognize the annexation of Arab Jerusalem by the Israeli side. We want the American consulate to constitute the seat of a U.S. embassy in the state of Palestine.
Danny Danon, former Israeli ambassador to the UN, calls the decision unnecessary.
If they want to provide services for the Palestinians, they can do it in Ramallah, in Jericho, in Nablus, in many other locations. The U.S. decided to move the embassy to Jerusalem, and I think we should all respect it.
The Biden administration can't reverse the recognition of Jerusalem because it's too bipartisanly popular. What they're trying to do is just partially reverse it or turn back the clock to how things were before America recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital.
In 1995, Congress passed the Jerusalem Embassy Act, calling for the city to be recognized as Israel's undivided capital and to move the U.S. Embassy there. It allowed the president, however, to invoke a security waiver to postpone the move. And beginning with Bill Clinton, each president did until President Trump. Senators James Lankford, Bill Hagerty, and other leading Republican senators have introduced a bill to protect the 1995 Jerusalem Embassy Act. In a statement, Lankford says their bill ensures future administrations uphold the law by keeping our embassy in Jerusalem and preventing other U.S. consular posts from being established in Jerusalem. Biden's intentions to ignore existing law does not bring the region closer to peace. It only undermines our recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Under international law, Professor Kontorovich says Israel can legally stop the move, although the State Department is pressuring it to give in. Some would say while the U.S. calls Israel a friend, its actions indicate otherwise.
There's no other country where the United States tries to coerce them to have a diplomatic mission to a foreign entity, a hostile foreign entity, in their capital.
Coming up, COVID-19 vaccines are on the way for children as young as 5 years old. We'll bring you the update when we come back. Stay with us. Pfizer has the go-ahead from U.S. health officials for its vaccine for children as young as 5 years old. It is considered a milestone that opens a major expansion for the nation's vaccination campaign. The Food and Drug Administration already authorized the shots for children ages 5 to 11, doses just a third of the amount given to teens and adults. But the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention formally recommends who should receive FDA-cleared vaccines. The announcement by the CDC Director Rochelle Walensky came only hours after an advisory panel unanimously decided Pfizer shots should be open to the 28 million youngsters in that age group. Our medical reporter Lori Johnson spoke with CBN's John Jessup on Faith Nation about children and the vaccine. They discussed the pros and cons of the vaccine for children and what parents need to know.
Can you give us a little bit of the breakdown? How many parents with kids between the ages of 5 and 11 are expected to get their kids vaccinated? And Lori, how much does this really actually move the dial?
Well, John, actually, a new Kaiser Family Foundation poll just released 5 days ago shows that 30% of parents who were polled said they definitely will not be getting their 5 to 11-year-old vaccinated. 27% say they definitely will be getting their child vaccinated as soon as possible. And then the remaining 43% say they're just going to wait and see how things go before making a decision. So it's really almost, 30% say no, 27% say yes, 43% say maybe.
Wait and see. Lori, can you discuss some of the reasons why that 30% of parents who say no, what they cite in their objections for getting their kids vaccinated?
Well, there are a number of reasons, but the number one reason was they're afraid of unknown long-term side effects. And when asked to drill down on what side effects they're worried about, 2/3, John, said they're worried that later on down the road, their children might have fertility problems, trouble conceiving children when they are adults, even though there's absolutely no evidence presented by the drug company Pfizer, the FDA, and the CDC that is a risk.
Lori, I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit, and I apologize for that, but mRNA technology has been around for a while. Is there anything different about these mRNA vaccines that perhaps would allow for those fertility concerns?
As I said before, there is absolutely no indication whatsoever that those are risks for this vaccine. Nevertheless, a lot of parents say that is what they're worried about, and it could be construed that they might be getting misinformation online, Facebook or wherever else. We know that we saw a lot of misinformation being disseminated on social media regarding the adult vaccines.
Lori, for those who opt out for their children to get those vaccines, are there any special steps that they need to take?
At this point, John, no. If you don't want to get your child vaccinated, if you have a child between ages 5 and 11 and you don't want to get them vaccinated, really all you have to do is nothing. There are no school vaccine mandates for the COVID-19 vaccine. School vaccine mandates are decided on the state level. And right now, California is the only state that said they will mandate a COVID-19 vaccine for the schools, but only when these vaccines for children have gotten the final FDA approval, and right now they're only getting the EUA, the emergency use authorization. But John, even if and when these vaccine mandates do go into effect in California and perhaps in other states, we still don't know what kind of opt-outs there might be. Of course, a lot of parents will be looking to see if there's a philosophical opt-out, a personal belief opt-out, which basically means if you don't want to get your child the vaccine, you don't have to. And of course, there are usually religious and medical opt-outs as well.
For just a few seconds left here, any special precautions that people should take as we head into the holidays?
Well, it's pretty interesting. You have to know that some parents who are definitely want to get their children vaccinated right away are thinking about the holidays, because if a child is vaccinated next week, for example, they will be fully immunized by the holidays. This is a 2-dose regimen. So there's one shot, a 3-week waiting period, another shot, and then another 2 weeks of incubation before their immune system has fully responded to it.
All right, Lori, we are unfortunately out of time, but we always appreciate your insights. CBN medical reporter Lori Johnson.
Thanks for having me.
And you can always get more medical and health news on Healthy Living with Lori Johnson. You can find it on the CBN News channel and on demand, and on our website at cbnnews.com or the CBN News app. Still ahead, a unique reality show that takes a biblical principle for helping widows to heart. We're going to have that story for you right after this. Stay with us. It's a reality show of a different kind. It is called Rebuild and Restore, and it helps build homes for widows. We have a closer look at this special program with a woman who became a widow herself in the midst of helping others.
I'm Ken Fletcher.
And I'm Shannon Fields, and we're the hosts of Rebuild and Restore. Ow! Oh my gosh!
Rebuild and Restore is a home makeover show where we help widows and their families.
How did this series get started, and how did you get involved?
Oh, goodness. So I met my co-host, Ken Fletcher, at a film festival here in Atlanta.
Along the way, there's plenty of challenges.
10 minutes, hurry!
The clock is always your worst enemy.
He had this creative thought to do a reality show to help widows, and asked that if I would consider co-hosting. And of course, I'm like, I already love to uplift women, and this would be like the perfect thing for me to do. And the payoff of each show
is the big reveal. Did you have a good day?
Yes!
Well, it's getting better.
So you're in the process of making Rebuild and Restore, and you guys are doing home renovations for widows. What happens to you?
During the first episode that we were filming, which is our pilot episode, my husband was having some problems with his shoulder and different things, and he's a football coach. He lifted weights and all the things, so we didn't think anything about it. And by the time we were filming the second episode, he had been diagnosed with ALS, which is also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. Because during the third episode, he passed away. But he was the picture of strength, and he uplifted so many people I've lost count. And I had never dreamed in a million years that when I was cast to help widows, that I was going to become a widow.
What makes you continue to work on the series following?
You know, I see things now from a different point of view. I went into this thinking I was going to help heal the widow, and instead now we help each other heal forward. There's a lot of young people with young kids. There's so many out there. So I feel like we're stronger together, and that we heal forward together now.
Tell me about some of the women you meet in this series, or we get to meet.
Oh my goodness, they're so amazing. They're all different, all unique. They all have different lives, different journeys, but we have formed a sisterhood that it's really, really amazing. This is you're doing life with them. And so that's what we do. We do life together. We're here for each other. We don't see each other every day, but we have our phone number. You can call. We can call each other at any time.
And I'm imagining that it's not just a renovation of home, but a renovation of heart that happens during this process as well.
That's exactly right. So my co-host Ken Fletcher comes in with the team and just rebuilds something in their home, and I come in with my partner from Widow Strong, Michelle Presky, and we kind of restore the heart.
What's the hope for the series once people begin watching it and seeing it? What's your hope?
Yeah, so we know that people watch it, they're going to laugh, they're going to cry, but we don't want them to just stop there and cut the TV off. We want them to be inspired to go help another widow, to start a group or something in their community, because I'm telling you, a widow's not gonna say, hey, can you come cut my grass? But if you see that they need their grass cut, go cut their grass. Don't even ask. Go take them a meal. So we want to inspire people to just to help a widow in their community.
For more uplifting and entertainment news, be sure to catch an all-new edition of Studio 5 tonight. This week, we're paying a visit to the set of The Chosen for an advanced look at the series' Christmas special. We're also sharing the latest film from the Marvel Universe, and we're exploring friendship in the film Ron's Gone Wrong. You can watch Studio 5 this evening at 8:30 Eastern on the CBN News channel or the CBN News app. Coming up, the Atlanta Braves shut down and shut out the Houston Astros to win this year's World Series. We'll have the details for you when we come back. Stay with us. The Atlanta Braves won the World Series last night, shutting down the Houston Astros 7-0 in Game 6 for their first championship, get this, since 1995. Despite starting their season with 4 losses followed by mounting injuries to the team, they managed to pull through all the way to the series victory last night. Max Fried threw 6 shutout innings. Jorge Soler hit a monster 3-run homer, and Dansby Swanson also scored a home run for the team. Swanson has been a very vocal person about his Christian faith, and you can find his testimony at cbnnews.com. Congratulations to the Braves. We were pulling for you. Time now for your Wednesday word, and today's word is this: joy. Remember this: joy is not tied to changing circumstances. It is grounded in the unchanging love of God. It's a simple truth, but it is indeed a pure blessing in trying times, knowing your joy isn't tied to uncertainty. It's tied to the Father, who has plans for you, a hope and a future, and He causes all things to work together for your good. Well, that is a wrap for this edition of CBN News Watch. Thank you for watching. I want to remind you can always get more of our news programs on the CBN News channel or online at cbnnews.com. You can find them there at any time. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. Feel free to email us. The address is right there at the bottom of your screen. That's newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Look forward to seeing you right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye and God bless.